come achieve success with Global.Media.com. Let's celebrate it with or without champagne.
Welcome, my friends. I have no idea what's going on. My life just seems a bit haywire today, but I'm here. And you're here. Just having my YouTube on as well. So, if you're here, drop us a comment. Say hi. Say where you're joining us from. Ask a question. But just talk now. Tell me about your day. How's your Friday going? One of those days, right? It's one of those days, but we always survive. We always persist. We always win. I see you, Mr. Cyrus. Are you there? Mr. Calm. Mr. Calm. The Calm that bought me a ticket to join a Future Tech Live. Where were you, Michael?
Say that again.
Where were you at Future Tech Live?
What do you mean? It's already gone? It's gone past? It's already done?
Yeah, where were you? I was there.
I missed it. I was asleep.
Yes.
I had a lot of things to do.
Yes. You bought me a ticket, so I can't really complain, right?
No.
I've got to be cheerful about that.
Well, you can. No. You can complain. That's okay.
I can't complain. No, there's no point complaining.
You probably missed. You probably missed me. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I missed you. Yes, but I shan't complain about missing you. That's just how life goes, right?
Yeah.
How are you anyway?
Yes, I'm all right. How are you doing?
You're here, so I'm all right. I'm cool.
I'm heading into work, and I just decided to pop in and see how you're doing.
Excellent. And I'm always grateful for your
Cyrus
time.
is there. He's keeping quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, you're relatively actually. You're on time today. Relatively.
No, seriously. See, even though it looks like everything's going
maybe I
haywire.
didn't check last time.
Everything's going haywire, but I'm here, right? Let's talk about audiobooks. I wasn't going to talk about this today. But then I looked at one of my clients. I said the only audiobook we've published so far for one of our clients, and I was amazed. I thought, many of us are missing out on the benefits of audiobooks. So let's talk about it, right?
I'm actually listening to an audiobook right now.
All right. So I suppose you've answered my first question, right? How many of you actually listen to audiobooks? How many of you listened to an audiobook in the last 3 months? Now, feel free, the way we do it these days, put in the chat, I guess yes or no. I'd love to know how many of you actually listen to audiobooks. Like you, Michael, I listen to audiobooks every day, every single day. Literally, I might say audiobooks, I suppose they come in many forms. That's what I realized. It's not just I guess the biggest audiobook platform is Audible by a long, long way. Much like saying the biggest bookstore in the world is Amazon by a long, long way, right? And then I suppose then you realize there are many different types of audiobooks. Like I say, I tend to listen to most books on YouTube. So of course it's a video, but it's not really a video, because there's no moving images in that sense of what a video is. But so YouTube's another great channel. There's many more audiobook channels. I'll talk about that long before we go. Because a lot of people think it's just Audible and that's it, but it's not. So there's many options out there. But look, like I say, there's many reasons I think we should be thinking about audiobooks. I mean, Michael has, Mr. Calm has listened to audiobooks right now. Cyrus, I know, produces audiobooks. I know Cyrus also sells audiobooks for sure, right? Jay, what are you doing in Georgia? I mean, hopefully you mean Georgia, US, not Georgia, the country. It's a country called Georgia, right? Now, I was thinking of you earlier, Jay. So I was thinking, how do you? Well, okay. There's nothing you have to do. Well, you can do, but you don't have to, Jay, right? Of course, you got a decent sized book, 200 pages odd, right? I've read the book several times because I read the audiobook version. Yeah. Jay's like, I don't have an audiobook But Jay, you do. You don't know it. That's all it is, right? So your ebook, I can turn it into an audiobook myself, because I've got, like I said to you in one of our last events, I have screen readers, right? We don't need to see your location, Jay. We know you're there, right? If you say you are, unless it looks extremely beautiful, you can send me a picture on WhatsApp, and I might show it. I can't promise to do so. I can't promise to do that yet, because it's not that easy on here. I don't know. This StreamYard doesn't do photos very well. It just doesn't show photos. It's remarkable. It's dumb, right? It's super dumb. Proper dumb is what I call it. Whereas it shows videos all right. Let me welcome Daniel. It's a superstar. Again, one of my new friends, a man who does media press releases for all of us. So he can get into big magazines, but big publications. It can even get you on podcasts as well. If you want to do podcasts, it's always good. If you're an author, it's always good to do the podcast network. In other words, go and be a guest on several podcasts, of course. Of course, now you can also make your own podcasts, what many people do, especially with the help of Mr. Cyrus here. He's a podcast guy. Well, I used to work with a company called the Podcast Guys, and they are the biggest podcast guys in the world, in the sense that they do podcasts for big brands, for big money. But Cyrus does that. It's similar, if not better, service for us. In other words, it doesn't charge you millions. It doesn't tie into long-term contracts that bind you forever. So if if podcast is your thing, then talk to Daniel, talk to Cyrus. There's many more people who do podcasts, of course. Many more of my friends have their own. I used to have my own, by the way. So I've done two sets of podcasts, what I call it. Ellie's Happy Hour, which is not me being happy at all, which is me interviewing business owners, right? But happy hours, much like my events, my live streams, they were never an hour. They were normally. I remember some 4 hours episodes. It's like, damn, person, stop talking. I need to go. I need to go eat, go sleep, go and talk to my family, go chill, go work. But once you get people talking on podcasts and events like this, they just carry on talking, and I have to enjoy it, right? My second one was more about LinkedIn. What did I call it? Linked. I'll remember. I could just go and look on iTunes or Spotify, and it'll be there, right? But essentially, it was about LinkedIn and how to use LinkedIn properly. So I love seeing LinkedIn experts today, because they talk about how LinkedIn works, and some of them try to sell me LinkedIn expertise. I'm like, you don't know who I am. Clearly, you don't. If you did, you might have known who I am, right? But that's the life we live. Anyway, so I love doing podcasts, and then my numbers were huge, but yeah, I like the interaction, Michael. I like the interaction between people. I like people interacting and talking to me in real time. Of course, on podcasts, if you get interviews, that's one thing. But no, if it's just you talking, then that's a whole different ballgame, right? You're kind of stuck. Not stuck, you're talking to yourself. Which it has its benefits, don't get me wrong, it really does. But let's not talk about podcasts for too long, right? So of course my joy today is helping people to write their book, publish their book, and like Jay, make people bestsellers. That's my guaranteed service, to bring joy and everything that people want, legacy. I won't say wealth, because wealth your book becomes your wealth when you turn it into business. Hence the topic of this room, book to business. You have to truly turn your book into a business and work your book, much like you work in a business. Something you do every day, something you learn and improve on, something you market extensively, right? So helping people to write their books, publish a book, and sell their books is my thing. So we've done many books. We've done many books over time, of course. Okay, and now I know why I was confused about my podcasts. It was called the Learn In, not like LinkedIn. So it was Learn In, where you get to learn about LinkedIn. I enjoyed that. I've probably done about 300 episodes of podcast so far in my life. Will I do more? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So let me welcome. I don't know. Do I call you Babby or I don't know which one it is, my friend. But I love this. I love that snazzy suit. I really do. So I was not listening to audiobooks in the last 12 months, but I'm ready to start studying the business books like the Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, You Can Win, etc. Right? Again, interesting point, my friends, my friend. Because all those books you mentioned, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, they are all available as podcasts on YouTube for free. Just do a search and do a search and so enter the book name and then just say full audiobook, and you get of course several options. Yeah. So going back to my point, of course, I'll help you to write your book, but also I want to help you sell more books. And I've realized, Michael, that audiobooks are the way forward. Audiobooks are the dream. If you're not doing audiobooks for your book, you're missing out on a large audience. The numbers don't lie, right? The numbers they are remarkable. So if we look at numbers, we're talking, and I say millions and millions of people reading audiobooks every day. So if you just look at the last couple of years, right? So in the last since 2023, I think there's 200 million pounds that's spent on podcasts a year. The increase is so the rate of increase is about 25% each year, every year. People who read podcasts. I say read. It's listen to podcasts, but they're reading the book essentially, right? They're not saying in the US numbers are even higher. In the US, we're talking like 27% compound growth every year. Every year. Of course, I can hear you thinking, will audiobooks ever overtake reading physical books? Interesting question, but I'll come back to that in good time. I don't think it will, by the way, just in case you do leave early or something like that, right? But so now in terms of revenue in the US, we're talking nearly $10 billion a year, nearly $10 billion in 2025. It's going to be spent on podcasts. It's going to be spent on audiobooks. Sorry. It's a wonderful thing. It's a big industry, right? So part of the reason I'm telling you all of this, and I will publish my friend Leverne's book. It's a process. Producing audiobooks, publishing them, it's not as easy. It's not always easy. If you know what you're doing, you can get it done. If you don't know what you're doing, you might need someone like Cyrus, because there's a technical element to your audio recording. You can't just record something and throw it up on Audible. No. An Audible would take 10 days to review your audiobook files. And they don't do it automatically now by machines, they do it by humans. Someone's actually going to have to listen to your audiobook from beginning to end. And they will pick out everything that is wrong with your audiobook. So this one that we did, for example, for Laverne, How Late to the Game But Winning audiobook. I'm sure you remember, maybe you don't, right? It is, so it's a 10-time international bestseller on Amazon. So the joy is right? But Laverne was determined to create this audiobook for her book. I think she's my second client who has gone the steps to actually produce and publish an audiobook, which gives me joy. No, like I say, no, I'm not going to make you money from you writing a book. You're going to have to make money yourself by doing activities that generate revenue. That's creating audiobooks. That's doing speaking gigs. That's doing events and IRL. I spoke to Jose yesterday. He does a lot of events, a lot of in-person speaking engagements on the back of his book. And then I think he told me he sold at least 500 copies alone on his launch date at his church. And I said, these aren't on me, these are on you. You know, I'm paid to publish your book. I'm paid to help you to get the book done. You know, if you want to publish your audiobook, I can. You know, and I get scared because of the technical side. Sometimes I will have to turn to Cyrus and say, Cyrus, help me. What am I being? Because audiobook will tell you, we want this, and that done to this far. And you have to get your head around what that means. You know, they want the bit rates change. You know, they want, I don't know, the speed. There's many other terms that they use. And I'm just like, what's nice? I've learned what these things are to get Laverne's book up. And then we published a book. And then Audible emailed Laverne, and then we didn't see the email, basically saying, we don't like the opening file, because the opening file, the first chapter, in other words, the first recording, you know, it's a mix of, I guess, you know, the introduction. It's not the introduction. It's a mix of the acknowledgements and introduction. We're like, that's odd. So we had to go and separate the files, right? To make sure that they're two separate files. That's Audible insists on. Yeah. Then I think there was another issue where they came back to us and said, part of the email that we didn't see, but they basically said, the person that rates in the file and the audiobook is not the same person that you've got in your specifications, in your form, in your details. Now, see, the author is the one that I put down as everything for the book. Of course, Global.Media as publisher. But Audible weren't happy with that. They said, no, we want the name of the person who actually read the book. So we had to go and record that bit and change the details. It's what I mean by there's always, it can be quite finicky, but eventually we had the book published. I think, no, eventually it went live 2 weeks ago, 13 days ago. Yeah, so it's actually on the bookstores. Then Laverne discovers that one of the chapters is short. Yeah, what do you mean, Eddie? Right. So we got the recording in 2 files, but I only uploaded one, which I was told was the file to Audible. So, you know, even though Audible didn't notice, didn't flag it up, you know, it just makes sense that you can't have a chapter of the book that is 28 seconds long when the real chapter is about 7 minutes and 52 seconds. So I had to upload that onto Audible yesterday. And then again, that's going to take 10 days for them to make the changes. Until then, at least our book is still live, still for sale. Of course, as I'm doing all these revisions, I get to see the numbers of our sales going up and up and up and up and up. You think, wow. You know, this. And I said, most people who publish books, if you do nothing, you sell nothing. I know what I just said. Welcome, Superstar Lisa. So glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. I would do your metamorphosis next week. I think it's meant to be on Tuesday. And I said Lisa she was on a hiatus. That's a holiday, in other words, right? Through July. But we'll have to come back sometime, Lisa. We'll have to come back sometime. LinkedIn user, right? Luz, Annie, I have no idea which LinkedIn user we have. Yeah, so let me turn on my events on LinkedIn, then I can see who it is, right? Well, thank you for joining us. So I see your question, Daniel. I will come back to that. Why's my computer so slow today? Hurry up. Just slow. It's like a death. But yeah, I talked about this the other day. So give me a couple of seconds and I'll get back onto my conversation. Okay, so link actually on now. So Jay, I do see you, Daniel. Dr. Yvonne, the superstar. I should have known from the Grand Rising, Dr. Yvonne. I thank you for being here. I thank all my American friends for being here. There's more people here, so do say something, my friends. Do say something. The Grand Rising to you, Dr. Yvonne. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we've got Calm and Cyrus here as well. I don't know if Cyrus is here. Cyrus was here, clearly. I couldn't put him on stage otherwise. So I'm on these wonderful events. Dr. Yvonne, this is one for you to think about as well, because you're now allowed to be conversation in private, of course, in that I'm genuinely a believer that we need to turn all our books into audiobooks. See, my book, Lessons We Learned from COVID, I'm mentally struggling to see how I'm going to do that. Because we have 10 authors, and I guess trying to get 10 authors to narrate their chapter. I think that's the question you're asking, Daniel. Are most audiobooks recorded with the author speaking or professional voiceover actor? This is one of the challenges of this industry. I don't know about most. But I think many are narrated by a voiceover artist. That's probably more, the greater percentage. But then again, today you find many narrated by AI tools. There's many now. There's smart AI tools, Daniel. See, the platforms, Audible especially, hates it when you record your content with AI. They will as good as say, no, we're not going to publish that. We're not going to put that on us, on our platform. So I guess, when you have tools like 11 Labs, and there's other tools out there, by the way, that do audio. So when you have tools like that, they can pretty much con the platforms. They sound so human, so real. And of course but you have to work on the inflections. Yeah, let me try and explain that in case anyone wonders. What was it talking about inflections, right? You see, when we speak, we have a natural rhythm, cadence. We have a way of pronouncing words. That's what makes us human, right? Whereas when a machine reads your book, the machine has its own quirks. If I listen to a book, an audiobook that's read by a machine, I would know pretty much instantly, because I listen for the way they say certain things, and after that, if you listen carefully enough, you begin to know. This AI doesn't say please very well, or it doesn't do pauses, it doesn't do commas, doesn't do exclamation marks the way a human would. The voice doesn't go up and down as you would say that thing, right? But so the tools are there where we can try to trick the system, the platforms, into believing that's us reading a book. Now, I would say, Daniel, read your own book. Now, genuinely read your book, because I think we have this false belief that we need to be perfect for our book to sound good, make sense to people, and for people to actually benefit from hearing our book, right? No, you don't have to sound perfect. You just have to sound like you. Now, maybe it's because I am somewhat is ignorant. I don't know. No, it's not ignorant. No, I'm self-confident. So, and I believe in my own hype. That's the best way I can say it. And I know what I'm trying to say, right? Let me try and explain it. I believe in what I'm trying to do. I believe in me, and so my attitude is quite simple. I'm gonna read my book my way. If I make mistakes, that's fine. My producer, Mr. Cyrus here, will tidy up the mistakes. They'll take out the the ooh, the change of voice between different days. The days when I'm tired, the days when I'm less excited, more excited. And so the technical side can be done by the producer, who will smooth out just bits of the content, right? And now the rest of it, they say that if you make mistakes, we can tidy those up too. You see, there is a hidden gem about audiobooks that no one tells you. You see, once you've written your book is written. That's it. The words are on paper, right? The reader gets what is on paper. Whereas an audiobook, I listened to a book. I think How to Make Your First 100 Million. And the author clearly is a wealthy man. He has the same attitude as any has, which is that I don't really care. If no one likes my tone of voice, no one likes my sound, I am me. They're gonna have to suck it up, right? I think Dan LaPena, that's his name. And literally, he just talks as he read the book as himself. He didn't read to be perfect. He just read the book, and then he could add to it. So just to explain, and as a side note, and then he will go on for about 2 or 3 minutes about a point he wants to make, which he didn't get to make in the book, to his satisfaction, call it that. So read your own audiobook, my friends. Never be put off by the need to sound perfect. You can always get someone to read your book. There's people out there who have what I call the golden voice, and they speak with clarity. Someone like Christiana, for example, Christiana T. Johnson. She, I think, will sound brilliant narrating audiobooks. So she does offer the service as well. So maybe if you're a female writer, you might want to talk to her about producing your audiobook. Who's the other one I know that does narration? Okay. Tracy Chow. No, Tracy Chow. She narrates audiobooks. And who else do I know? Zara Camp. Again, she'll happily narrate your audiobook. Of course, this is a job, so you have to pay these people, right? Someone is making noise in my ear. Mr. Calm, you're making noise. Why are you making noise in my ear, Mr. Calm?
I'm trying to breathe. I'm trying to stay alive.
It helps. Are you near work yet?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, don't be sorry. No, don't be sorry. You have to live. You have to live, Michael. You don't live. My life is not the same. Who am I going to jab at?
But you're right. I shouldn't be sorry. And I say that because I do really believe that you care, even if you say you don't really care.
I do care. I've never said I don't care. I've just said that I do care. So everyone here has heard me say I do care. So the shouting to
yeah, but you made a statement indicating that you don't really care that no one likes your audio or your reading audio. Yeah. Isn't that right?
Yes. No, I don't really care what people think.
Are you including yourself in that? No one really cares.
I think it's I
Because
think
I really think that if you love yourself so much, you care. You
no,
certainly do care.
right? Okay, I think it's the opposite, Michael. It's really, no, I think it's the
Yeah,
opposite.
I really do think it's the opposite. You care. Yeah, I
No,
believe it.
no,
Thank
no.
you.
I really, no, but it's like events like this, right? There was a time when I used to worry about how I sounded, and I really thought I sound terrible. So it took me a long time to realize you sound like you, and get used to it. The world's used to it. And my friends don't mind. I don't see you running away to any. You sound so bad. You're hurting my ears. So I've developed this thing about I am me. How I show up is how I show up. How I feel is how I feel. Don't like it? It's your problem, not mine. Don't buy my book. Don't come to my events. Don't listen to me. You know. So, but that's I think you need that attitude, Michael, to go and do what I do, to talk at events, not to read your audiobook, to go and be a guest speaker somewhere, to do videos on YouTube. If you're petrified that what people might think of you, you never do anything. You never do those things in particular, right? I think we need to
Yeah.
develop tougher skin, and I truly believe I'm so special at being any that I will show up as I am every day of the week. Now, there was times I used to insist on wearing a shirt for these lives. Before my shows, I could run to my room, change my shirt. Now I'm just like, no, I'm coming in a t-shirt. You know, I will stop just short of coming in a mankini. I said, no one wants to see that, right? So I leave that well alone. But otherwise, you get me as you do. Don't like it.
Yeah, that
Unfortunately,
is true. You do need that attitude, and you
yeah,
need it in order to value your life and its quality.
I agree. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying to you. You say you have to. If you love yourself, then you care. And I think if you love yourself, then you really couldn't care what others think. I think the whole caring what others think is one of our biggest limitations because then we begin to fear and doubt ourselves. And there's no place for that at all in our lives. We're all special. You sound like you. So going back to Daniel's point, right?
Hmm.
If you wrote a book, I will perfectly, I'll be perfectly happy to hear how you narrate the book. Even if you haven't got perfect English, even if you haven't, even if you have an accent, even if you have, you know, some things that you might call issues, but I'm sure I'm saying I'd rather hear the book from you than
Yeah,
from someone else who is not you, because and when it's not you,
and
people.
I'd rather I'd like just like you ask people to write their books in their own languages. I'd
Mm,
like to
mm,
hear you. I'd like to hear you narrate it in your own language,
yes,
in whatever you're comfortable with, because that's the best way to 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 gauge the book. The quality of the
indeed,
book comes out in its most original and most authentic self through
yes.
you.
I agree. I suppose when it comes to different languages, yeah, of course you can do audiobooks in your language. Yeah, I guess the issue you're gonna have is whether there's enough readers on Audible to make it worth your while. I'm sure over time there's enough readers to make any language worth your while, right? But I think you need that confidence that the numbers stack up. I mean, I'm going back to something like what we saw the other day from. You remember that's the great discovery thing that we went to, Michael. That's changing translating your voice and what you say
Yes,
into a
yes,
language. I'm saying, right. That sounds something that we all need, right?
yes. It
You
is.
know,
It was actually quite impressive.
right. So, but then Cyrus says, "Don't be silly." Most courses, most people learn and read in English.
The
Yeah,
majority, the majority of people.
yes. Well, the others don't read our books. Is the other way to look at it. They might read different books. They might read other books. They might read no books. I'm saying, but they're not going to read our book, right? There's
Yeah,
no point translating your book into, you know, Ishan, for example. It's maybe Nigerian, and I grew up in Iroa, and Ishan was a language. Yeah, basically, they're not going to read your book in their local dialect necessarily. They're just not. So it's not worth translating your book into every single dialect, every single language, right?
Yeah, it
Because
depends on it really depends on your purpose. It actually depends on what is your purpose. Why are you putting that book out? Because there's a probability that the people that you want to have you want this book to most reflect or affect are people who need that book in a language written in how they speak. So it will be up to someone who speaks their language to write the book in that language so that they can pass it on to the people and affect them even more greatly. Like in India, they have multiple. They speak in multiple languages, um, and I do profess that they speak English very well and they write English very well and they understand it very well. But that does not necessarily mean that that is their strongest language. The strongest language may be their vernacular, and
yeah,
that's the language in which they communicate almost every day, but with not only people who speak English, but with people who don't speak English. The majority of people that they can reach out to if they write a book in vernacular is a lot more than they can if they wrote it in English. They can get more profit if they write it in English because it will go worldwide and
yeah.
everywhere else. But now the question is, why are you writing the book? Are you writing the book for profit? Are you writing the book to have an effect in the community? So there, it all depends on function. As far as I can, as far as I can tell, Cyrus can argue with me about that one, but I think I can pretty much guess that
Cyrus is
he'll
not going
agree
to
with me.
argue. Cyrus, we agree with you. I agree with you. I'm looking at Jay's. Jay said I was going to send this picture. Jay, where Jay is in Georgia. I think is it Georgia, US? So you tell me in a second, right? Yeah, I gotta find a way to get this picture up. I think you get pictures up.
Which city are you in Georgia?
That's a question I should be asking, right?
Yes, that's what you should be asking. What city is he in? He can't just be in
What
Georgia,
city are
because
you in, Jay? I laugh, with the irony, Michael. My mother came to visit a couple of days ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Tuesday. The unannounced visit. So literally, I got a message saying, we're coming. So now she came, of course. One of my stepsisters, or half sisters, call it that, right?
Mm.
And we had a pleasant time, a lovely time. Me, my son, and them two. My wife's always at work.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course they leave, and then we're like, yeah, job done. It was great seeing you. Amazing. My wife comes in, she's like, where they staying? What's this? What's that? Who's doing this? I'm like, I don't know. My son's like, I don't know. She's like, you two are just dumb. You didn't ask any questions. I'm like, we asked questions, not the ones he wanted to ask. Accept my limitations. It's not that I don't care. I care, but I don't like to ask questions unless I really want to know. And most of the time, my brain is.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm glad you can see it, Michael. I'm in this happy little bubble, right?
Yeah.
You tell me you're going to Georgia, I'd be like, yeah, great. I asked the question, which Georgia, didn't I? Didn't I say which Georgia? Right.
Yeah, and then you say, send me pictures, send me proof. But I don't really give a shit. I don't really care.
I love the easy life, Michael. I like my brain to be truly empty. And half the time, half of my days, my brain is truly just blank. It's at peace. It's like, Oh well. Yeah, look, I think everything I don't find out today, I'll find out tomorrow anyway, right?
Yeah.
I'll ask a question. I'll ask a question sometime.
All you need to do is just open a yoga class, and I'm pretty sure you get a good swell of people loving what you do because they want to be in that kind of condition.
Oh, I try. My joy is more important than anything. I would say my joy, my peace is what I live for, right? You
Oh
know,
yeah,
so
I
now
can quite agree with that.
thinking too much is
Chase
always a problem.
chase your peace every day.
Yeah. I'm with you, my friend. I'm totally with you. You know, Cyrus is still not talking. He sent me a question mark in my WhatsApp. I don't know why. I don't know what that means, Cyrus. Are you here? You may not be. Dr. Roxana's here, though. Welcome,
Well,
Dr. Roxana.
there may be issues. You might be
Mm.
having an issue.
You know,
Cyrus,
'cause
why don't you you know log out and then log back in?
yeah, and it's unmuted. That's what makes it even more frustrating, right? I said, meanwhile, I'm trying to create Jay's.
Or maybe he's just trying to be super calm, but then he's gotten into the super calm quiet mode.
Into was super zen. Like he's almost dead.
Yeah.
He forgot how to speak.
I mean, he's stuck in the
Maybe,
spotlight. He's literally stuck
maybe.
in the spotlight,
Yes, yeah. So
and we can't get there
I see what you did
mentally.
there. I see what you did there, Michael. It's fine. You know, Dr. Roxana, I guess you think we've gone mad. We haven't lost. No, yes, I lost my mind a long time ago. But today we're talking about the need to turn your book into an audiobook. You know, it's doable. You know, and I think you should. The numbers say that we definitely should. And I say there's billions spent on audiobooks every year. Like I said, the numbers are going up so fast. 25% more readers every year. You know, in the US, I think it's more than 20, so about 27% of new readers every year, right? You know, the question that I started off with today was, are you reading audiobooks? What's the last time you read an audiobook? Have you read one in the last 3 months? So no, Mr. Calm said he's reading one right now. You know, and of course, I say I read audiobooks every day. So my reading is simply based on a reality or something that I've learned, which is that just a bit of reading a day every night. If you learn about your skill, you improve exponentially every day. So every day I will learn either about the book industry, the book business, the craft of doing books. Like, that could be writing books, editing books, marketing books. Yeah, or I guess it could be better now, even the bestseller angle. But literally, I looked at my library the other day, Michael. You know what? I had over 60 ebooks. You know what's so good about all that? I've read at least 55 of them. That really cheers me up. Michael, were you ever the sort of person who bought books but never read them? Are you, are you still that person, Michael?
I've got a bank of about, I don't know how many books, maybe 130.
Really? Read them, my friend. Have you read most of them? Oh no. Okay, Michael
Yes,
fell off and came back. Okay. So you're 130 books, Michael, right?
yes, 130 books. I still got to read quite a few of them. This particular series is 22 books, and I have read it. I bought the originals. I flipped through it, and I've read them about twice already. Now that I'm doing through it, like I think this is my third or fourth time going through the Foreigner series. I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it in the comments which book I'm
Awesome.
reading, and it's my fourth
Okay.
time going through it, and it's a lot like. And the reason why I read it is because it reflects a future life. I really think that I was born to be in space, and
You're born to be what?
in space.
Really?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Oh,
You're
how
not.
do
You're
I
not
tell
of.
you?
You're not of Earth. You were born to be in space. Yes? No?
What it means is that I was born to be. I know I'm already in space, but I was born to be a space child. In other words, um, zipping through the cosmos in a spaceship.
Mm.
Yeah,
What's the feeling like?
another world. It's another world just for me.
Just for you. That's a bit
Yeah.
selfish.
Well,
Write a book
I'm the
so
only
so
one who seems to
write
be
a book
living in
so
there.
so write a book so we understand what this
Yeah,
place.
I'll write a little blurb about it, and I'll post it. I'll put it in the comments so that you guys can understand what it's about. And
No. Write a
and if
book.
you
No,
enjoy it,
not a
and you
blur.
enjoy it,
Write a book. Write a.
my I will eventually write a book. I'm working on it, but let me get through this first one first, and then after that, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
I'd love to
if the
know.
process is good and I am attracted to it, then I'll definitely be writing another one. If the process is horrible, I'm not attracted to it. Well, that will be your fault, Annie.
You see, no, it's not my fault. It's not my no. You're gonna carry on living in your space world anyway.
You're going to be my publisher, so I don't understand why it's not your fault if it's horrible.
Because it's not my fault. I'm the publisher. You know, you give me a publisher.
Yeah,
It's not on me whether
and
it comes out well.
I'm expecting a good publishing, a good publisher who can reflect and help me get through what I need to get through. Even the results, I'm not so bad. I'm like a regular guy. I'm not so hard. I'm not, as a customer, I'm not so hard. Annie, I really am not. I'm pretty malleable.
No, Michael, stop for a second. Stop for a second. When you go shop and buy a tin of baked beans, you don't say to whoever, wherever, and I say, well, I go to Tesco, and you go different shops in the US, right? Walmart. You don't say to them, I want you to change my life with this can of beans. No, Michael. You say, I'm going to can of beans. I'm going to go home and eat it my way, my time. That's it. The shop doesn't care how you do that. I'm a publisher. You come to me with manuscript. I say, how would you like it? And you say, I want it in this size, this font, this look. I'll give you that. What you do with it afterwards is your problem, not mine. Don't look at me. I'm not gonna read your book and say, Michael, I don't like this bit. Change it. I'm not. That's not my job. The job of the person you pay to edit your book, Michael.
You
You
think
get it
I'm going to
right?
be worried about that? I'm not going to be worried about that.
Yeah, but I'm not. But I'm not even gonna read your book until I have to read it on launch day.
That's excellent. That's very fine with me.
So I can't tell you anything I think about the book
Well,
because I think nothing.
you can make my publishing process very, very good
It will be beautiful.
and very
It will, you know,
accepted. Yeah,
it
that's
will be
exactly
good.
what I'm
It will be
looking for.
amazing. It will be truly gorgeous. You know, you're gonna have a
There you
great
go.
time making
There you
choices.
go.
Making
Sell
choices.
it to me. Sell it to
Making
me.
choices, Michael.
Absolutely. I love
You
that.
tell me how it looks. You tell me how it sounds. But then you give me how it sounds because your words on paper is your tone, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And
I
again, like
want
I say,
I would
I'll
like
say to
to,
you,
on my words, I'll just keep them simple. I'll keep them the way I am,
yeah, and so
being authentic.
I'll say to you,
Hmm.
let's do an audio book. That way, people can really understand and hear your tone, Michael. They can hear the parts that are important to you.
Oh
They might
yeah.
even hear you get emotional. Yeah, emotional. You know, they might. No, you never know, right? I don't know, it depends. I mean, the space journey might be a remarkable thing.
Well,
That's
if you can write a book and you can write it in a manner that when people look at the words and read the words, it actually evokes emotion and all kinds of types of emotion and the intentional emotion that you want to invoke in them, whatever that may be, then you're a writer.
yes. No, I agree with you. I could say, let's say I agree with you, right? I agree with you.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's very hard to convey emotions on the level that you're talking about. You have to be a very very good writer.
You have
You
to
know,
be
and
astute in the English language. You also have to be astute in how you convey,
mm,
um, how you communicate.
yes,
You have to
I
be
agree.
you have to be a person who studies communication and
It was
studies it very
ma-
well in and captures the influxes and the inflexes. And
yes, I agree.
when you read it, you know that this person, when they read it, it's going to sound like this, and this is how it's going to come out.
Mm,
And it's also going to, and the way you write it, you got to also be what you cognizant of the fact that the person, or the person that you're going to be writing it for, is going to understand it. So
yes, and take it away
you
that
have to
take
be
it away that you
cognizant
want.
of your audience. Yeah.
Yes,
And if your
yes,
audience is going to be extreme, large, you you're going to have to write it for a large audience. So someone
yeah,
who's very capable of capturing that in literature is someone
yeah,
who I can certainly uh, I can certainly admire, and I can certainly at the same time look forward to reading whatever they put out in literature, be it an essay, be it a poem, be it a book, whatever they put out. It's well worth reading, and it's well worth buying. It's well worth mimicking, and it's well worth it's valuable. It's well worth having, so that you can read again over and over again, because you're not going to just read it once. You're always going to come back to it because you value it, and it's going to have um, it's gonna be a standard bearer in your life as you move through life in different sections of your life that you go through and hang in and participate in. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for in a writer, and that's what I want to capture, and I want
mm,
to um, what do you call it? Become
yeah.
as a writer.
I hear you. You know, I think you might need a bit of psychology knowledge and expertise as well to create that sort of book. So you have to understand how human emotions really work. And also, like you say, like the audience is also very important.
And you've got to be able to love yourself.
Yes. Well, I said the other thing you need really is storytelling skills. Like Jay can tell you stories that will make you weep, even if they're not sad stories. He has a way of he can help you construct and create narratives that will elicit emotions. Maybe I say if you want to elicit emotions.
I can believe that because I have listened to him talk.
Mm,
I've listened to him speak. I've listened to
right.
him talk about himself. I've also listened to him narrate stories,
Mm,
and the stories that is personal to him and how he conveys them uh, is very, is very personable. You actually get his authentic self. He represents that very well as he talks.
I agree. I agree. No, so again, people might think we're just waffling for sake of it. No, but this is important to me because so I was watching a program last night, and it was about it was a book called Weathering Heights. Right, it's a big book. It's one of the I guess bestsellers of our time. And I'm sure it's a great romance novel. But
Yes,
so the
romance
person that was
novel.
the reviewer basically saying that the book is very, very stark, and it can shock you because you suddenly go from a story to suddenly a man beating up a woman violently, which the author managed to get to capture and explain in a way that almost takes you there. And it's almost like now, if you really the book almost traumatized, effectively traumatized her because the violence was so. What's the word I'm looking for? It was so unexpected. Maybe it was
Shocking.
just thrown in without apology, without explanation, without you with me? Now there's no build up to the violence. It's just now this man was just violent, and the author just kept what obviously when I say this man was
It
violent, the author wrote this
it
this
was
violent
very
character.
raw.
Yes, and it was always in your face, just thrown at you without warning, without explanation, and it said so. I mean, you have to be tactful in how you communicate the different messages in your book, right? The different stories in your book. There is a way to build up to, what Jay calls the transformation moments, the moments when your big shifts happen, the big incidents, the main thing, as Cyrus would call it, right? you have to be very, very tactful. But let's come back to audiobooks. So I said I don't want to miss my chance to truly get across what I know, the need for everyone to think about doing audiobooks. I really think we should. I really think we ought to. I don't want to say we should. We ought to at least consider it, because it's doable. If you're thinking I haven't got the voice to record an audiobook, I think you're wrong. Your readers, they have to love you, and being brave enough to read your book, I think it will pay off in massive amounts, because only you can tell your story the way you want it told. And I say all this because I'm well aware that many people today are using AI to write their books, right? So they will struggle. But for most people who write their book from their heart, only you can communicate your message from the heart. Narrators are good. Don't get me wrong. So there are many good ones. And what they have is that clarity, the experience. Maybe they've done this several times, right? So they have the process, the systems in place. They have also maybe access to a studio. I remember a friend of mine telling me the other day, when it came to recording their audiobook, they were advised to go and sit in a closet with a microphone. I don't know how you're meant to see in a wardrobe with the door shut, right? But essentially, you need to block out the sounds, the noise, literally the noise, distractions. Yeah, so audiobook will not accept low quality recordings. So the environment does matter, right? But also essentially, people want to hear your take. So I remember my friend Kelly Gilbert. He wrote "Plants Saved My Life." And he didn't say we were together loads last year. In the audiobook times, I think we've done a video. I don't think we haven't done a video together. So we haven't done an event together since Christmas, right? Since New Year, when Lives came in. But so he created his first audio, his first version of his best-selling book, using AI. It was very good AI. Genuinely, I didn't take offense. I know what I mean. Let me explain that, right? So when you hear a book, when you listen to a book, and you hear the way the AI makes the same mistakes, the same word, the same place, the same punctuation, the same grammar, you begin to expect it, right? Now your ears get distracted from the content to when's the next mistake coming? And I say, well, Kelly's AI didn't make too many mistakes that really put me off. It's like finding a typo in your book. If someone finds a typo in your book, their mind gets shifted instantly to when's the next typo? When's the next typo? Is there another one? And then the more they find, the more they're now totally distracted from reading your message to where's the next typo. So whilst of course it matters whether you read your audiobook or not, so because you can't, if you're a human, you can't make so many mistakes as an AI can. You might make a mistake somewhere, but in most of the cases, you will correct yourself the way AI can't. I'm sure there's tools like 11 Labs where you can go and change inflections. And so to give you an example, so I got a client called Muteli, Muteli. And AI had a habit of saying Mutili. It's like, no, Mutili. Mr. Cyrus, a genius here, was like, just change the spelling on the transcript to Mootely. It worked. It said Muteli at the end. Now you can see how, right? So you can faff around and make AI sound as best as human as you can make it sound, right? But it's just a big faff. The world wants to hear you. They want to hear your message. They want to hear your tone. They want to hear your sound. Your emotions about your book. Don't let that stop you. But if it comes to, we can always get the narrator. So, but that's just a start, right? Because like I said, they'll give you audio files. There are settings that audio recordings must meet. They must meet certain sound threshold in terms of volume. They must meet certain sound thresholds in terms of frequency. So there's, I think that's bit rate. That's a frequency, right? There must be certain criteria in terms of file format. And these are all settings that an audiobook narrator, presenter, publisher will understand. The narrator, maybe, I don't know why, because I guess from experience, I see narrators will give you the audio file, yet it's still not the same. It's not the right format that Audible needs. Now, Ennis calling to now become a sound technician and start digging around with the sounds to make it what Audible tells me they want. So the beauty is that Audible will tell you very clearly, this is what we don't like about the sound. If you raise it or lower it to this number or above or below, then that'll be fine. So all you have to know, my job is to know how to move the settings and the parameters of your audio file to where we want it to be. And it takes time, but that's what you're paying me for, right? That's what you're paying the technician for. So I could easily go to Cyrus and say, right, I need this file, in these specifics, and I want you just do it and send it back. Would that always work? I'm sure it would, right? But Cyrus has to be on tap for me to be knocking on his door for every single audio file, because each one can throw up. It flags up problems, But if you know what you're doing with sound, you can definitely get through those minor issues. Now, let me show you where Jay is. Linda, welcome, Linda. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us, Linda. I'm still waiting for your fiction books, Linda. My friends want to hear your stories. They want to enjoy. I don't know what sort of fun it is, right? Luz, welcome. Jay, right? Jay says he works in the wilderness, but any can help you get through the book publishing wilderness. Thanks so much, Jay. Let me show you the wilderness that Jay's walking through. It's rather beautiful, Jay. There you go. Can you see it, Michael? Michael? No, Michael disappeared. Okay. I have no idea. No, it is falling off. Cyrus is there somewhere, but it's still not talking to me. Jay, I don't know. It looks wonderful. I guess now the morning air. That's 20 seconds of video there, right? So the morning air, the fresh breeze, the sunshine. I think it looks quite amazing. To show you again, that's Jay's wilderness that he's walking through as we speak. What excellent, Jay. I live in. It feels like concrete city, but it is in the countryside. So I haven't seen nature today. Mr. Calm, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Right. And so I'm going to show Mr. Calm. Let's talk about Jay's setting. Is this Georgia, USA, or Georgia, next to Russia? No, you're muted. So I imagine that you can't talk to me right now. It's fine. I'll survive, but you're back. It does look amazing, Jay. Right, my friends. There's always a question that people ask me, right? A little bit like people ask when it comes to audiobooks, are they the same as reading a book? I wonder. Now, stop wondering, stop wondering, stop wondering. I'll make it easy for you, my friends. Let me show you a video. Oh, I mean, someone's, of course, we live in a world where people do science every day, right? So someone's done this science to ask the question about what audiobooks are and whether they are similar or different to reading a book from cover to cover. I can find my video. I'll be well impressed, but no. Google, I don't know what you're up to these days. You're essentially trying to throw us rubbish, which is this AI responses from Google. It gives me a headache, right? Okay, I know where I'm going. Right, let's go for it. So that's so annoying. I got 5-minute video ish. I want to show you, but I need to get through the ads first. So I don't know how to turn the sound down on the ad. Really annoying. Okay. I'm sure you heard that, but let me put it on the screen so you can actually hear it. In USA, yes, Jay, thank you so much, my friend. So now there is a science of, reading comprehensions, audiobooks versus print books. So let me just give you a quick 5 minutes insight into what we know. If you, in case you're wondering the question, is audiobooks learning comprehension the same as when you read a book physically? Give me 5 minutes. I'll say grab a cup of tea, but here goes. Let me share my screen. Where's YouTube? It's not that one. It's not just stats. Yeah, that works. Okay, another one I was going to show you, but let's go with this one.
Can actually lead to better comprehension, and the research in this area says, one, reading seems like it can actually lead to better comprehension and retention, but to be honest, the findings there are pretty mixed, and we'll be looking at that in a little bit. Two, you can get better at either reading or listening. And number three is that listening is definitely more convenient than reading. By the way, I'm Andrew Cooper Sansone, and this is Sense of Mind. We talk about psychology, mental health, and neuroscience, and our goal is to upgrade your brain so that you can improve your life. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss anything new from this channel. Okay, so before we get into all the differences between reading and listening, you might be wondering why there would be any kind of difference in the first place. If you're seeing the same words as you're hearing, then shouldn't they just be the same? Well, the thing is, there's a theory in this area of research that basically says that by physically engaging with a real book, by turning the pages, by being able to kind of go at your own pace and holding it leads to more engagement with what you're reading. And so you're more likely to understand and remember what you read. So that's kind of like the basis for this research. So one of the biggest findings in this area is that reading may lead to better comprehension and better retention. So you understand and remember what you read more than with listening, as that theory would predict. But the thing is that it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of the results from these different studies. So a lot of studies do find that reading shows slightly better results in comprehension. So you understand what you read more than when you listen, and you remember it better. But there are definitely prominent studies that have been done in the last 5 years, last 10 years, that show only slight differences or no difference at all. I think we could tentatively say that reading is probably a little bit better for remembering and understanding the material than listening. But this kind of brings us to the next point. reading and listening are both different types of skills, right? So you probably, if you're an average person, you've probably read a lot more than you've listened to books. So you're probably just way better at reading than you are at listening. And like personally, I started listening to audiobooks 5 or 6 years ago. And I do it whenever I would normally listen to music now. I don't even really like even listen to podcasts all that much anymore. I mostly just listen to various audiobooks. And at first it was pretty hard to pay attention, to be working out or walking outside or doing something while listening to a book. But over time, you kind of get the hang of it. You get a lot better at it. You can turn up the speed a little bit and listen to it. So I think part of the variability that we see across these studies is just due to different people being better at it than others, or just liking listening more than others. So they have more of an interest in listening to audiobooks, so they become a better listener. And same thing with reading. There's people who are kind of indifferent about reading, people who don't like it, people who love it. And so the people who love it are going to be more interested in getting better at reading. But I think that can probably explain part of the variability. And I think it's good to keep in mind that if you want to listen to audiobooks, you can get better. You can incorporate it into your life more. Okay, so the first point was basically that reading may lead to better comprehension and retention of information. The second point was that you can get better at either reading or listening. And I think the third point is really a point for listening. So listening is definitely more convenient than reading. I mean, you can listen to a book while you're riding a bike, while you're working out, while you're walking down the street, or doing house chores or anything like that. You really can't do that while you're reading a book. I mean, I do see some people at the gym who've got on their treadmill, they've got their book in front of them, or their magazine, or they're on the stationary bike or whatever. But I think that for most people, that's fairly difficult to do. Definitely more difficult than just having the earphones in your ears and listening at whatever speed is comfortable for you. This kind of leads me to a general point. I think that a lot of time when we ask these questions, like, is reading better than listening? Or, in a previous video, we talked about, is nonfiction better than fiction? I mean, I think that if your goal is to really get deep into the text, then you probably need to read it, or, at least listen to it and read it at the same time. But if you're just trying to hear it, you want to get that information, you want to hear that author's voice, then listen to it. Or, do what you want to do. Don't worry so much about what the science says, especially because the differences just aren't that big, and it really comes down to an individual question. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it at all, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you never miss anything new from Sense of Mind. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're interested, check out the newsletter. That is going to...
All right, all right. Thanks. Enough. I think I've done my friend a favor, right? I gave him the credits he deserves, and now you know who the video is by. Look, I guess the point is this: let's not get hung up about whether reading is as good as listening to audiobooks, because they are, right? Cyrus, everyone can hear me apart from you, my friend. No, okay. I don't know why we can't hear you, Cyrus. You are here, but apparently you don't think you're here. Anyway, so let's not get hung up. People love reading audiobooks, right? Yes, Jay, you can record your audio. Jay, you made my day. This all. If one person does something different, I will take it. Jay, record your audiobook, really. You know the book inside out. You know what you're saying. You know how to convey the message. Recording an audiobook is not as hard as it sounds. It really isn't. Look, worst case scenario. Do you know that Audible? Well, before Audible, the Audible company is not called Audible; it's called ACX, right? So, I don't know, Audible Content Exchange, something to that effect, right? They have a database of narrators for you to choose from. Essentially, you go on there, you can choose the price range and who you want to work with. It's like putting like a job ad, a job posting on something like Fiverr, where you say, "I'm looking for this someone who can do this, read this book, and here's the price I'm willing to pay. If you're interested, send me a proposal." Right? Now, again, Audible has ACX has a very clever way where they track all the things for you, right? They track who responds, Jay. They track whether you send them an extract of your content of your book to read. Now, you might have to send them a couple of pages, and then that way you get an idea of what they can do, right? And Audible will track you paying them, but you paying them what you agreed, and them charging you what you agreed. Now there is something, Joni. Of course, I see you. How you doing, Joni? Right, Jay. Now there is a cost if you use a narrator from Audible. The cost is simply this. I think if you use a narrator from ACX catalog, ACS process, yes, they would track the process from beginning to end to make sure that you deliver, or also that your narrator delivers, right? But I think you're tied together in your royalties. The narrator earns royalty, the percentage of your royalties. It's not small. We're talking that they earn at least 25% of your royalties for life. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. For life, right? You're tied together infinitely forever. Because they're the narrator and the name is on the front of your audiobook, your audiobook specifications, like I said earlier. So by rights, Audible will pay them 25% of your royalties from your book sales. Royalties is what you get when you sell a book, and the bookstores take their bit. What's left is called royalties. That's what you get, right? So now, if you use them, one of their people, it was just a freelancer, really. Then you are tied to pay them forever, and you can't change that. Yeah, you know what I just said. You can't suddenly turn around a year later and say, "I'm sick and tired of paying that person. I don't want them on my book anymore." It doesn't work like that. You have to enter into a termination agreement of sorts, and then over time you can, of course, break that tie. But then you have to go and get your audiobook recorded again separately by someone else. You can't terminate paying me as your narrator and then carry on using my voice on your book. It doesn't work like that. So, but look, let me tell you, there are many, many, many narrators on LinkedIn. Many. Now, I mentioned three of them: Christiana, Zara Camp, and I said, the person that narrated Laverne's book. That's at least three, right? There's many others. And you'll be amazed.
I did narration.
Go on, talk to me. How are you doing, Joni?
I've been good. Yeah, I was at a project this morning, so I thought I'd catch you at the end. I apologize, so I don't want to repeat myself. But I did narration in college for a lot of people who just didn't understand the text. And so the spoken word for me, it really resonates with me. Who knows? That's how my brain works. I love audio format. And I think it's become so fantastic with Audible that you can stop, you can put notes in, you can highlight your favorite passages. And I think doing your own audiobook is incredibly important because it's your voice. And so you know where to take pauses. you know where to kind of bring the story together. It's a whole different art form.
I agree. No,
So
I agree. No, I agree, and I truly, I think you have to read audiobooks. I mean, listen to audiobooks to really get what you're saying, Jody. You know, so I listen to audiobooks every day, so I know what you
I love
mean.
listening. I mean,
Mm,
look what we're doing right now. We're listening to each other. We're hearing voices. There's something about listening to something that is comforting. It's not viewing it, you're not scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, whatever. You're listening to it, and it's a story, and that is comforting. That is like something about like childhood, like listening to your parents or the librarian read a book. And so,
I love that. I love that. And I said, it is that, right? It is, it's like listen to
I
your parents. I love that. So some of us missed out on our parents reading to us. I did anyway, right? Yeah. So I think I did. Yeah, I don't remember the early days, obviously. I'm
yeah.
so
My parents were good parents. They did read to me. I did read to my kids. Sorry, I like in a tank top. I'm like, it's so hot in here.
no.
It's humid as hell, and I'm trying to let my
Don't
air conditioner have a rest.
No, don't apologize. You like I said, I turn up as I turn up. Don't like it, I can't help you.
I have pool hair. I've been on a job site, so you know what? I've turned up.
Yeah, that's what we need, right? And look, our friends love you. No one cares how we turn up. So I got a friend on here who is so paranoid about how she looks, so freaked out about and she looks perfectly fine, but she's so no. You never see her on video. You never see her on any of our shows, ever, because she's so paranoid. But this fear goes on to even doing Zoom calls. She won't meet people on Zoom because they can see her. It's like, you run the business. How's this gonna work? Anyway, I'm glad you're not that
That's
person
what you
doing
look like. You gotta walk into a meeting. Like, don't worry. People will
it.
think you're beautiful and human just the way
They
you
really
are.
do. They really do.
But right now, I am a little rank. I'm not gonna lie. Oh,
You're fine. So until they create scratch and sniff TV, scratch and sniff computers, I'm safe. You're safe too, Joni. It's fine.
I love you no matter what.
We're nowhere near that, my friends. Gideon, I see you. Welcome, my brother. I'm glad you're here. But go back to your point, Joni. The video I showed, the young man said essentially people are listening to more audiobooks. They prefer to listen to audiobooks than to listen to podcasts and to listen to even music these days. That's numbers, right? So that's a movement. That's a transition. And no one's even talking about it apart from me, clearly today, right? And I guess there's also a reality. I don't listen to any audiobooks or video books on YouTube once. So all the things that you might miss when you listen as opposed to reading a book, you will catch the second time, third time, sometimes even the fourth time. For those who know me well enough, many of my rooms are based on things I read, things I learn, right? Of course, when I set the topic, I will have to go and do the reading again. So let's say I come across something interesting in an audiobook, or even an ebook that's been read to me by the computer, right? By a screen reader. I will make a note. I'll send myself a WhatsApp message and say, right, here's a topic. Here's one of the nuanced points, and here's a page in the book that is in. So I know where to go back to really learn the topic. And it's only when I truly want to learn the topic so I can share it with my friends on here, my events, that I really feel like I've learned that part of that book. It's doable. The more it's a repetition, you always find out things that you didn't find out the first time around. But the same as when you read books. So if you read books more than once, then you'll find that you know more about the content than you got the first time you read the book. Now, some people, so I'm thinking of, Bob Proctor, for example. He celebrated the fact that he read the same book for 60 years. And now was that Think and Grow Rich? I think so. So it was one of those, right? Yeah, one of those like mindset books. Or no, I think it was Elle Nightingale's book. I forgot what the book's called now. But literally, he read the same book for years. The repetition. If you don't repeat your learning, your reading, your listening, you're not going to get the full picture. And you might be saying, but Annie, that just sounds boring. It's not boring. So where you are today is what you hear. Tomorrow, you're a different person. Take it from me. Whoever you are, tomorrow you're more aware. Now, maybe you're more aware that even this concept exists. So tomorrow, when you hear it again, you'll be like, I get it now, or I don't get it, as the case may be, right? Now, we need to learn to repeat, read, repeat, listen. Now, but audiobooks is where everything is, my friends. The money is there, the people are there, your audience is there. Look, we all know about Audible. I get emails from Audible every day. It's because I used to be a member. But you can listen to these books online. There's many other platforms apart from audiobook or apart from Audible that do audiobooks. Many, many more. There's Libro FM, there's Everand, there's now audiobooks, of course. There's Spotify as well. Now Spotify, as a podcast music channel, but now they have some subscriptions where you can read audiobooks on there as well. There's Hoople, LibriVox, Chirp, Kobo, Apple and Google Play Books. Now there's many, many platforms where you can, one, sell your audiobooks, but two, get your audiobooks. So I could talk about this topic all day, but I truly think if you think about how to turn your book into an audiobook. I get the challenges. The challenge is that we don't trust ourselves to be able to read our books eloquently enough. You're wrong. How you read your book is more important than the eloquence with which you read your book. I think that, as Joni said, the fact that you can expand on points, that you can expand on the book. Maybe your editor said, take that bit out. You're like, but you did, right? So your book is fixed. In an audiobook, you can expand, you can explain stuff. Things that seem important to you or the reader, you can expand on that as a footnote, as a side note. You basically just talk and add it to the chapter, and no one's going to say to you, "I'll take that bit out because we don't want it." Again, I think some of the best audiobooks I've read, they're read by the narrator, and they're far from perfect readers. What they have is a passion for their book. What they have is a passion for the content, a passion for their readers. They really want you to understand what it is they're trying to convey. You can do that too, right? So I think we need to all get into that mode of being confident enough to read our books. Worst case, we can get someone to read the book for you. So once you've done the reading, do I need a studio any? A studio helps, and you haven't got to own a studio. You can easily rent space in a studio. You can rent a booth. You can rent time in a studio. Do I have to sound the same all the way through? Ideally, but of course, you want to record your audiobook when you are at your best. Now, let's say you're a morning person. You say essentially, you might want to say, okay, 8 o'clock is when I read my audiobook, I record a chapter at a time. I might record more, might record less. So that way, you can be in some sort of consistent sound, consistent energy, to actually read your book. And the readers will not know the difference, whether it's 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, different day, different time. That's they just listen to gain information that's in your book, the messages that you want to come, the stories that you want to share, right? When it comes to uploading your book, ACX is what we use. That's the Audible platform. It's free. And ACX will link your book to your Amazon page. So people will see that they can buy different versions of your book. And I always say go for all the versions. Audible is the one we have now, right? So they'll see the ebook. That's going to be a low price. They'll see the print book. That's going to be probably the highest price. Maybe the hardcover is your highest price. And then they'll see the audiobook as well. Now, there's one thing I want to explain. Your audiobook is not magically priced. Maybe it is, but you're not going to set the price of your audiobook. You don't get to decide your audiobook price. This is why it's such an amazing tool, right? Audible will decide your price based on the length of your book. So, so up to a certain length, less than an hour and a half, 90 minutes, in other words, Audible will say, here's the price you have to charge. That's the price we're going to charge. That's it. End of. You don't really get a choice. And also, let's say, your book is 3.5 hours plus. Again, it's another price, different price completely. I didn't just give you the boundaries. I'm just telling you that's the longer your book, the more you can charge. The Audible will charge for it. The shorter your book, the less you can charge for it. It's a fixed price system. There's no negotiation with Audible on that one at all, right? I remember there's part of the agreement you have to agree either to make your book exclusive to Audible and Amazon, in which case you get higher royalties. And we're talking about 50%, 60% royalties for an exclusive deal. I think, or otherwise you can go for 25% royalties to have it on wherever you like, the choice. So non-exclusive will tend to reduce your royalties. Whereas if it's exclusive, then they will give you a higher return. Mary, how you doing, Mary? You working out? Yeah, you survived. I'll show you yesterday. So I thank you for being here. I'm not going to keep you anywhere near as long today, Mary. I'll try and get us out of here in the next 5 minutes, right? Well, thank you so much. Local libraries and colleges have sound booths, and they do. And there's also private places where you can go and record. But thank you so much, Mary. There's no shortage of places where you can go and hire a booth and record your audiobook. That's for sure, right? And I'll have to eat my local to fix my allergies. Oh, okay. No, beforehand, indeed. Indeed. I guess I think it's been in the right energy, right? Been in the right, in a consistent state. I'm sure I sound louder in the day, but I probably sound louder at night because I'm not allowed to talk at night, right? Because the family is like, shut up. They shut the doors on me. But I'm saying, work out how you're going to get yourself into, when are you most alive? When are you most energetic? That's when you want to be recording your book, right? And it can be done, but even if you do sound a bit different, no one's going to shoot you. It's your book, right? No one's going to shoot you. Yes,
I like the idea. Oops, sorry.
Go. Sorry.
No, that Mary said that there's sound booths, or maybe she said listening booths.
No. They're sound booths. So colleges have
so that you can record your book without external noise, and so that's a really good idea, Mary.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you can record at home. Of course you can, but the noises are likely to be, there'll be noise. Pets make noise. You know how your dogs always want to bark when as soon as you start talking on anywhere, on the phone, on an event, our pets always, they suddenly wake up and start making noise walking around the house. So, but even
Something
if
happens. There's like a fly buzzing around, or like you hear noise from outside from wind, or it's just not as crystal clear. So that's why if you're ever invited to be on a podcast like that's like big time podcast, they're like, you have to create a tent in your closet in the quietest
yeah,
space that you can. You're just like in a tent. You're just like,
I mentioned that earlier in your closet. That's a bit extreme, right? But people
the one
do
time
it.
I was on a pretty big podcast, I have like a nook for my dogs under the stairs. And so I went in there and like put like pillows up against the side. And I was like, I know you can't see me, but I am here.
I like that. It's a picture. It's a picture you paint, Joni. I do like that. It's but look, don't be put on. The process is not as bad as it is. Mary, you can talk all day and still keep your voice. Yes, I do. I talk every day, and my voice doesn't disappear. I suppose I'm not shouting. I'm talking as me. Thank goodness for microphones, Mary. Otherwise, I'll have to do a bit more work. But my voice doesn't really get affected. Maybe other people's do, right? And so if your voice does get affected, then again, work out what works for you, right? Mary's still laughing at you and your tent. I'll go to that.
I think it's also the way you talk, you do take some breaths. It's like you pause at the right moment.
Oh. It depends on I'm trying to make a point, Joni. So it's some point.
If you were reading a children's book and you're just like, and then what was around the corner?
Yeah. No,
The children peeked around the corner. Much to their surprise, it was their cat. Figure.
This is why Jane is a narrator of books. So you have another person that you can call for sure. Where are the guys who narrate books? Don't look at me. I'm not going to narrate your book for you. I'm just not. Right. Jonas takes woken up by itself. Don't worry, my phone wakes up when it wants. It just starts talking to you. So they all do. Siri and the other, Alexa as well, right? They all do.
Yeah.
So Mary says,
every person X plus Y equals 15. How do you find out what X and Y are? Interesting.
I tell you, who's very good at it, and who's very good at read aloud. That's why I call the sessions, right? Paulette's very good at it, for the kids' books, and for her books especially. She's very good. So I've seen her do assemblies and read along sessions with in schools, and she's amazing. Like you say, for the very reason you say, Joni, you know where to pause, you know where to emphasize, you know where to cause that dramatic silence.
That's a really good skill for comedians too.
Yeah.
So really good comedians know how to stop and then continue on with their joke. But I've done a lot of research on comedians because it's just, I like watching them. But I think Jay, is he listening? He's an amazing storyteller, and his voice matches.
Yeah. I think all our voice match. If you write a book, your voice will match the book, right? No, really. And I think it's in our heads where it's us that don't think we sound like we should. It's not. I remember in my podcasting days journey, I used to be petrified. Literally, I sound terrible. no one wants to listen to this, but they did. That's, I think, when I was told I had like 280,000 listeners at one time, I was like, that's scary. That's really scary.
Well,
But
you sound, what the sound is in your head is not necessarily the sound. And sometimes you're like, ew, I sound so nasally. I sound
yeah,
nasal.
yeah, yeah.
And it's not, it's just you. That's how everyone has known you. And so
yeah,
you just kind of have to get over that and be like, it's okay. Everyone has known me for X amount of years, and my voice is my voice. So I
yeah.
know people have like there's some people have serious phobias of their voice. I know people too, a lot of people listening have serious phobias of being on camera too. And again, that is your face, and we love faces. Your face.
Yeah,
We love
look,
your face.
I tell you, I think you're so right. The science is what it is. What I hear of myself is not what you hear of me. It takes a long time to truly understand and accept that. How you sound to yourself is not how anyone else hears you. Just how you hear you. Now, again, think of everyone you listen to, right? You think they sound great. They sound like themselves, right? You don't think twice. You don't think, oh, that person sounds nasal, unless they really there's something there, right? But literally, people will love your voice, your sound,
Wow.
a lot more than you do at best of times, right?
And it's good to just, if you're going to read your book, like maybe get feedback from someone you trust to see if you are going too fast or you are losing their interest because you're monotone. And so that's a good idea. I mean, that stems from me being in a band for a short time and then being like, no, your voice has to go higher here at this point, like right after this note. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I was like, I sounded like crap. But you can learn to improve.
You really can. Again, Mary says it very well. I have to think about slowing down my thoughts and my mouth go fast sometimes. This is all of us, right? We can't. I'm forever learning to try and slow down. Now, what I haven't learned yet, the Joni and everyone else here, is how to pause and really stop. And I can see that you see when Mary and I do our show next week, next Thursday, I think. She wants to throw in think about moments where basically you ask the audience to think about and then answer a question.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do that, but my brain is always going far too fast. That's I don't have those in my events, but I will learn. Like you're saying, Joni, everything that we need to do, we can learn. We learn to sound loud.
It's not hard. It's just it's a skill too. How to properly read something. You can tell from thinking about when you were a child and a librarian was reading a book, and if they were really excited, animated, charismatic, you'd be like, I want to stay for this whole session. And then if they're just like blah 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 blah,
you can tell.
You can tell. You can tell she wants to be organizing the book in the back corner.
Well, I'm saying that. Look, people practice. There's nothing wrong with practicing. When you're practicing, there's no surprises, right? Now, Mary says, Joni, you got a great voice. You got a great reader voice. Yeah, see? Now, while I was coming today, Joni, you made my day, of course, by being here. Let me welcome my superstar friend, Yolanda. Yolanda, I feel so bad. We need to get on your book, Yolanda. If we crack on the way we're going, probably get the book written by the end of August, and then we'll spend a month or so refining the book when I go to Ghana, and then we can finish the book off, right? So Yolanda's book is coming, and with her book will come the events, that we're gonna do to bring some of the issues to our world, right? I'm never the funny one. I can't imagine you being scared, but that's a real fear. Mary, no, it's not a secret. I've said this many a time, right? I said for years I refused to speak in public. For years, and I don't know what it was. I can guess what it was. I think there was something about our generation that didn't speak much at school, and I wasn't required to speak. All we had to do was write, and I'm good at writing, Mary, and I can write. That's maybe in Nigeria, I spend a lot of time doing reading and comprehension, story writing, and handwriting, just handwriting. So I can write. Then I remember there was a presentation at uni during my master's. That's the worst. My master's is probably the worst one I remember. Literally, I would practice, Mary. I would rehearse. I would have notes. I would have scripts. But on the day, my nerves just went. My nerves would just literally shake so much that I couldn't even see what was on the paper in front of me. I would have projection slides, overhead projector slides and everything. But I would just lose myself and just forget my words and lose my sound. Suddenly it's like, oh, what a nightmare. They were looking at me. Damn. So
I think that's also the age, and you really have a different affect when you are older. I remember my high school required all seniors to do a senior assembly. So you had to write this whole assembly, and then you had to read it in front of the entire school up on the stage by yourself. And I remember I've never felt this feeling since, but my throat went dry. It was like, coughing, and I was like, I need a glass of water. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna fail this project. I have to graduate senior year. But see, now you just kind of pause, you smile, and you keep going. I mean, even about the boring stuff. So I do technical writing on as a side gig, and sometimes I have to read it, and it's like, yes.
C'est la vie. I'll do what I have to do, right? I think that again, there's something there, Joni. I think as adults, we have much more agency. Is it true? If we choose to do something,
agency. That's a good idea.
We learn to do it, right?
We have a little bit more confidence or a little bit more not give a fuck.
So Mary to talk about me saying I was scared. We need to drop that fear. We need to drop that fear that we have. My voice won't sound right. I will make mistakes. That's all fear. You do great. Tell yourself you're going to do amazing. Practice and then get it done. So until 3 years ago, Mary, I didn't speak in public. I managed to get to the top of the company, the charity I was running, and literally, I would have my soldiers go and do the work for me. I would train the kids to go and speak. I would train the staff to go and speak. But you wouldn't hear me speak on stage. In meetings, of course, in meetings, I'm fine. In one-to-ones, I'm great. I'm all right. I'm just me. I'm saying, but speaking like this 5 years ago, I would say to you, no, I can't do it. No, for all the reasons we mentioned, right? But I think I found the needs I found with this audio or this live event, sort of audio events, where either I was going to leave LinkedIn for good and have to change my business completely, or I was going to have to get into audio. And as soon as audio came in, day one, literally, I was here. I had a show in August. Audio came in July. I had my first audio room in August. And since then, they can't stop me talking. Yay. Lucky for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure your son loves that at dinner time. You're like, how's your day? What'd you do? What'd you game? What'd you do? What gym workouts do you want to do?
It just looks at me and just says, "What?" I'm like, I've got to explain it again. Then I slow down and try to explain it a bit more, and I do just talk at him half the time, but it makes me laugh because no one ever talked to me.
Now I feel like everyone needs to listening to this podcast, go listen to IDGAF by Dua Lipa. Because it's a great song and it empowers you. You're like, okay, all things in this world, just let it go and be yourself. You're enough. Anyways, I have a meeting at 11, so I'm gonna.
That's all right. No, thank you, Joni. Thank you. You made my day being here.
Everyone have a great weekend.
You too. Take care, Joni. Have a good day. Bye. Mr. Calm, you found your way back. I was going to find Dua Lipa, and I thought about not. I'll leave that alone. No, but I tell you, yay! Your phone, reawaken itself. Now, I tell you what, Mary. Now, there's something that I don't do very well, even when I talk in public these days. Do you know what it is? Comedy. And you don't say that to yourself. It's not true. I can be funny sometimes. I'm very funny. I make myself laugh. I make some people who know me laugh sometimes. But again, everything's about memories, Michael. Everything's about your memories, your experiences that you remember that maybe left a mark. So let's say maybe my first real acceptance I had to speak in public was when I started networking. And in networking, real life networking pre-COVID, especially, you had to give your elevator pitch. And so there I was every Thursday morning. We're talking 5:30 UK time in the morning. Every Thursday morning. I had to gather my strength, gather me, Michael, and then go to my networking group, my BNI networking group. And invariably, there's 50 people in the room, if not more. They're going around one by one doing their 1 minute elevator speech. Sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes in between, right? 5 seconds. But the bigger the room, the less time you got. Because the room was standard, then you got you had your minute. And that's why I had to learn how to talk in public. But even then, Mary, everything I will practice and practice, because you really want to have you want to speak with impact. You want people to know what you said, to resonate with what you said, to get it, and call you to come and help them with your services. That's why you practice so much, put so much into it. But I don't think, I say in maybe three and a half years I was networking at BNI. I don't think I ever did any of my presentations, my elevator speeches, exactly as I planned. I never did, not once. And the jokes I tried never worked. Now, they won't laugh. Maybe they just didn't like me, right? I can accept that. Or maybe I just wasn't funny. So that's why I came up with this idea that I'm not funny and I don't write jokes into my public speaking. But I think you have to just chill and just be yourself, man. Be yourself. If you want to tell a joke, not for the audience, but for you. Make yourself laugh. If you make yourself laugh, you make someone laugh. I think our things that we think we want to make everyone laugh at the same time, right now, like we're comedians, round of applause, encore. No one cares about that. It's real comedy, real jokes, they're subtle. It's our thing to ourselves, right? As long as we make ourselves laugh. That's an important thing. I said that's the best. What's making you remember the other things we experience? That's not what people are saying, but it's evidence of humor. Indeed. I love this. All lies through, all lies though. You are funny. You really are. You truly are. I guess you're funny is as you want to do. Well, you are an off the cuff, which is always best, right? You know, be that person, my friend. Yes, thank you, Yolanda. You know, I'll pay you. I send a £10 note in the post later on, my friend. You're funny to me. That's all I care about, Yolanda. That's all funny to someone. I make Michael laugh sometimes. You know, rarely in public though. Anyway, now, I'm sure you're getting the idea, my friends. Now, you can do an audiobook. I think, you know, if you're not doing audiobooks, you're losing money, literally. You're losing money, leaving money on the table. Yolanda, sometimes, you know, you crack me up every time, Yolanda, and I say, you know, because we're writing Yolanda's book together, we do spend, you know, spend quite a few hours together already. So I mean, you have to spend time with someone to really get where they're coming from, right? No, truly. You know, and once you get them, and once you realize that they are, you know, they are hilarious. You know, I mean, some people think strange thoughts. And maybe some people think that for some that's serious. So Michael told me earlier, you know, he's an alien human, and that's funny. No, because I just think that's one of the weirdest things. But you know, the reason I think it's funny is not because Michael is an alien. It's because the second time I've heard it, and the other person who believes that they think they live in a different dimension. That's Halle. You know, you get to meet her next Thursday. You know, she truly thinks she lives in a different dimension. She always has done since she was a child, and she lives that way. You try and think what that means. And if that doesn't make you laugh, or at least smile right now, you must be made of stone, right? Truly. So Mary says, when we do laugh, so why do we laugh when people slip and slide and then fall? It's something that we could do, that we have done, that's unexpected. It's, you know, look, you know, so what, you know, one person's joke is another one's, what? So if someone likes you, it's a joke. If someone doesn't like you, they might take offense. Is that a problem, Mary? You know, but no, so we do find things funny. All you can do is just be yourself, my friend. Be yourself. Right now, the technical side for audiobooks we can handle. So Cyrus, even if you do record your audiobook in a noisy, no, I don't want to say in the noisiest place. In a place that's not the quietest, Cyrus can fix that. Cyrus is a sound engineer amongst us. He's a real engineer. So I'm just trying to get your file to the standard that Audible wants. You know, I'm trying to, but it has to be a decent file to start off with, and then also it has to be, you know, reasonably compliant in terms of noise in the background. But, you know, but if there's really a sound problem, I will always go to Cyrus. I may bill you more based on what he charges me for the pleasure, you know, but literally, you know, there's nothing we can't fix. You know, and even then, an Audible is so user-friendly in telling you what's wrong with your file. You literally can just take your files, take Audible's feedback as you upload your audio files and say, right, and sound engineer, fix all these things, please, and they can do. Worst case, it might be you have to re-record something. That's not the end of the world, right? That's not the end of the world at all. You know, but ultimately, we'll get your audiobook out. Again, so part of my amazement is that my friend Laverne has sold so many copies. But you know, I can hear you saying, why is that so weird, Eddie? You know, because she hasn't done any marketing for the audiobooks, really. So now audiobooks will market your audiobook for you. They send emails every day, like I said to you earlier. And they list audiobooks on there that you can get. See, there's an even more amazing sweetener with audiobook, which doesn't show up in your sales. You know, let me get into this. So Mary says, I have to filter my thoughts. Yes, Mary, we all have to, right? Some things that you want to say, you might not want to say. You know, we have to find out sense and sensibilities based on the room we're in. You know, left to, I just be like this all day, every day, in every room, but I can't be like this. You know, when we're talking mental health in Paulette's room, I have to slow down. I'm more often than not say nothing. I just literally mute myself and let her do her thing. I do what I do best, which is work on people in the room. You know, in Christiana's room of a baby loss, again, I will leave the topic to her because, you know, it's very sensitive. and so of course you have to slow down. I guess we've got to try not to restrict ourselves too much. That we become disingenuous, we become performers rather than really saying what we really, rather than saying what I think about the topic, the message I'm trying to convey to our audience, what I think the audience needs to hear in terms of what's important. We try and filter ourselves so much that we sound plastic anyway. That's self-defeating, right? Safi, you found your way. Welcome, Safi. Speaking of feedback, consider joining the peer editors group to look over you now, or if you have a resume that needs editing. I think you mentioned a reading group as well the other day, didn't you, Safi? Please post any resources, anything, links that could be useful to us in the comments. I would really appreciate that, right? Anyway, look, again, even when it comes to books, there are reading clubs. There are people who will read your book before you go to publish, maybe even before you go to editor. So this is a link to the peer editors. So these are the ones that read your book, give you feedback that you can use to improve your book, and then when you're happy, you might send it to a professional editor. Because the book will be nearer to being what you want, right? I'm going to come to you next, Mr. Calm. Mary says, a pretty amazing picture, not having to market a lot, and Audible does it for you, right? Many more people have listened than physically read books, and I'm sure, except about comments on the video when they're supposed to work, right? Now, there is a sweetener on Audible, which I think is amazing. I don't know, it depends on you see. I wonder how you see it, right? Let's see, when you publish your book on our Audible, they will give you 50 tokens, 50 tokens that you can give to people to go and read your book, your audiobook, for free. 50. Why would they give you 50 tokens free for people to go and read your books for free? The answer, my friends, is because Audible knows what we all know. You need reviews. They want you to get 50 reviews, not 50. They want you to get 10, 15 reviews on your book. If you can get 10, 15 reviews on your book, and of course, if they're good reviews, then more people want to listen to your book. Well, you get 50 tokens to give out to people. Is it time limited? I'm not sure. I don't think it's time. Yeah, there's a date somewhere. But I don't think everyone's even using 50 tokens. I can see the dilemma. If I give away 50 tokens, that's 50 fewer readers I'm going to get. Don't think of it like that. Think of it more like, if I get 20, 30 reviews and they all say how great this book is, I'm going to get more readers. More, right? That's the way you got to think about it. Your book sales is not just for today. It is for the long term. And you see, I'm as guilty as everyone else. I'm quite happy to sell my books to those who know me, my friends, all right? I'm quite happy I'm happy for you to know about the book, go and buy the book. But my real book sales is not today. It's not from you necessarily. My real book sales is from people I have never met, people I don't know, randoms, as I call them, finding my book somewhere on Amazon and saying, yeah, I trust. The topic is exactly what I want. The title is what I think it should be. Description, this book's going to give me what I want, what I'm looking for, the information I'm seeking today. And then they buy the book. But first, they're going to look at the reviews and see what the reviews are saying. Think of what you do, my friends, when you buy stuff. You look at reviews first, right? We have this tendency as humans to avoid what we call buyer's regret, buyer's remorse. Same thing. We don't want to be. No, when something goes wrong, the first thing we say is, I should have known this. I couldn't trust them. And then you go and look at the reviews and you're like, damn, this person says exactly what happened. They say exactly what's happened to me, the problem that I've got with this brand, with this company, with this product, with this service. That's why everyone looks at reviews first, and then just to give ourselves reassurance. Your book is the same. Unless you get reviews, your book is going nowhere too quick. A book with no reviews is not going to get a high rank on Amazon anyway. But a book with high reviews, especially reviews from verified purchases, verified buyers, that is going to get you far. Now, Safa explains the links that she shared is for you weren't a creative. So that's a creative writing group in DC, but of course you can reach them from anywhere. Now there's this internet, so do check out those. This is that link that Safa shared. I don't want books coming to me, Safa, that are incomplete, unchecked, unproofed. I want books coming to me when they're good to go. So as I said to Michael earlier, I'm not going to read your book looking for mistakes. If I find mistakes, which I do in pretty much every book I've ever published, I've found there's mistakes. That's even after editing. It's sometimes it's not despite, but even after editing, there might be something that's not in the right place. That could be the editor. It could be that the person didn't apply what they told them to do. They didn't change that spelling, whereas they could have. They didn't. So when I find out, I'll change it. But most of the time, I just want to publish a book. I ain't got time for that. I want to do the layout quick, and then you go through the proofs. You get a chance to spot your mistakes several times. You get to spot your mistakes once it comes back from there. Once I look at it and say, right, here's what I think I have, you have to read the book and say, yeah, this is exactly what I think, what I want to publish. And then you get to read your book again once I've done the layout. Layout on my design software, I'll send you a proof. And then when you say, yeah, that's fine, in other words, this is your chances to spot the mistakes, right? Now, when I put the book onto Amazon, on KDP, I'll send you a proof again. And then, each time, again, all the things I've talked about today come into play. This is why I do what I do, the way I do, right? By you reading the book several times, you must know now that you can read your book because you know the book inside out. By you looking at your book several times, you can begin to get your head around, how would I narrate this book? Because you're reading it several times over, right? You begin to see, you get to picture in your head of how you tell the stories that you're telling verbally. Because like I always say, it's when you find your voice as an author that you really start making money. You're like talking about, when you can talk about your book and your messages, people want to listen to you more than read your book. And then they might go and buy your book and read your book afterwards, right? But it is your ability to and your joy to read your book that's going to determine your success. It's not what I do. So Mary says 7 visits to business on Google. So we know Google, right? So we look at that. Of course we do. So we look at different places. Now look at different. What's online about this person, this service, this book, right? People they want reviews from everywhere. So that buyer's remorse is such a big thing. We'd rather not buy if we think we might regret it. We'd rather, me, for example, I'd rather pay more for a product with more reviews than pay less for a product that it looks similar, it sounds similar, but it has fewer reviews. That's just how it is. Yolanda says, never mind proofreading, it's a must. I agree. Maybe, you have to drop the ego to be open to the people who are here to help you with your book. That includes the proofreaders, the editors, the cover designer. I see you talk about graphic design, Mary. I've watched a bit about publishing with graphics and how this can get flagged, even if I create it in Canva. Of course, they should. They should alter lines or something. Yeah, look, feedback is not a bad thing. So people who are here to help, the editor, the editors, the book publishing trade. There's many people involved. Do learn to listen to them and do take at least consider their advice. Decide which one you're going to take, which one you're going to leave behind, right? I think I'll publish a coloring book. Yes, sounds good. I've never done one of those before, Mary. So if you want to do that, I don't know, we should. Let's look at it. Let's let it work. We're tied together now anyway, Mary. So we'll get a chance to talk about these things in good time. Coloring book. What age? Who for? Yeah, all that stuff. Mr. Calm, are you still there? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, he's not talking to me, so he's talking.
I'm talking to you. What's
So,
up? Yeah, I'm here. You got a question for me?
Are you at work now?
Yeah, positively.
Excellent. And has it started well?
Yeah, as far as I can tell.
The same mode, or I'm jealous that
same as yesterday.
I don't get to go out to go to work. So I wake up, do my tea, spend time with my pets, do some exercise, and then come and sit down and work. Well, now I'm standing up, so of course. Anyway, I guess on audiobooks, what are your thoughts? Okay. What do you have any big fears or big reservations about audiobooks that you might want to share with us? You don't have to. If you don't, then we can go. It's fine. Yeah, but do you have any big concerns that may hinder your wish to create?
Yeah, you did mention some earlier, and what you mentioned earlier was about when you're unable to when you read a book, you try to get inside the mind of the author.
Oh no! Please keep to center stage. You fell off the stage. You're back though.
I always think that I always wonder whether the reader has really gotten into the mind of the author and is actually able to reflect what the author is actually trying to represent in the book. When I read a book, I've noticed that sometimes certain sentences that they reiterate, I get a different understanding, or a paragraph, I get a different understanding of what they actually end up portraying, or than what I actually listen to when I'm reading versus what I'm listening to, and that's where our differences mismatch. So it's actually talking about authentically portraying what the author intended in their book. So the question is, am I right or are they right? Yeah, that's what I worry about.
Yeah, no, I can understand. It's it is. It's a dilemma, but I think, but this is where I think the footnotes in audiobooks come in handy. So Dan the Penny,
Footnotes in the audiobooks.
Yes. This is to re-emphasize my point. Your audiobook is not a precise, exact replica of your book. It can be, but the smart authors know those moments of question, is what I call it, Michael, right? Those moments that may not be so clear, but when it's written in black and white, it's in black and white, it's fixed, So whereas in audiobook, you can add this, you can say, essentially just say side note or with a footnote, and then all the author's notes. That will do, and then break into your explanation what you really meant. It's easily done. So you have that facility with audiobooks that you don't have with books otherwise. Or even with AI reading your book, even someone reading your book, they can't add to it. You can if you read it yourself. You can explain things that you think are important. That's an important point. Mary says, I went to meet up with an editor who gives advice for free, tore into my work now, but I appreciated it. She thought my feelings were hurt, but I was like, no, that's your job, Mary. That's a mature attitude, and we all need to have that sort of attitude. It's not just editors. Choose your editor wisely, is what I say, right? A professional editor would do a professional job. I mean, if a friend would be nice to you, a friend would just be like, "Ah, this sounds good." Family will be the same. They'll be like, "Ah, nothing wrong with it. Go for it." An editor will give you suggestions on how you can improve the book for your readers. That's what they. That's what they. That's what we think about as editors, in Global.Media anyway. And the ones the editors I work with, they just want to tell you what they think could improve your book for the readers. Whether you take it or not, it's up to you. You do you, right? But I always say that be like Mary, have some grace and be humble. Realize that you don't know everything, and how, as Michael just said, how your content comes across matters. You may think you're being clear, but if someone else thinks you're not being clear, you may want to look at that part again and think, how can I explain it better to really convey what I want to say? What I want the readers to get out of this is important. Mary says, "Got to run." Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mary. You're a superstar. I don't know how I've done 2 hours again, but I'm going, my friends. You've been amazing. You really have been. Everyone that's joined me, I appreciate you. My American friends, Yolanda, I'll message you later on. Let's put our next date in. Could be Monday, could be Wednesday. But I'll check the dates that we have, and let's go from there. Safi, thank you so much. Lisa, the superstar. Jay, so my Nigerian brothers who joined us as well. Thank you so much, all of you. Somebody give us a Gideon, of course. And you, Michael, Linda, saying Luz, Dr. Yvonne, Daniel, Dr. Roxana. Thank you so much, all of you. I couldn't do this room without you, Mr. Babe as well. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you. Michael, you're a star. You're my favorite person, Michael. You know that, don't you? Michael? Nah, okay, it's fine.
Yes, sir.
You haven't got to respond to that. Hey?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll take it. Look, enjoy your day. We'll talk later, I'm sure. You take care. Keep enjoying, Jay. Keep enjoying your show. Keep enjoying your woodlands and your.
I suppose I have to start calling Phenomenal quiet.
You're gonna start calling who Phenomenal? You?
No, Cyrus. The Cyrus.
Cyrus. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Now, this topic was for him, to be fair, because he's the guy that does the podcast. He's the guy that does the audiobook editing. Now, Tracy Chow, she also does audiobooks. So there's not a shortage of people. Of course, I want to publish your audiobook, but if you don't want me to do it, get someone else to do it for you. So the fact that you can make money without doing too much marketing yourself, it's remarkable. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. My friends, enjoy your day. I will be in touch later. Joni, of course, I can't forget you, Joni. Thank you so much, Joni. You're a star. And I do truly adore Joni as well. Because she always knows, she's like you, Michael. She shows up just to be helpful to us. I love that. So look, enjoy. I'm off.
I like Cyrus even more. He shows up.
we all love Cyrus because he's Cyrus, right? Yeah.
It's probably the AI that he sent.
I can well believe he literally turned the device on, put himself on stage, and then he's probably gone to work, or maybe he's gone back to sleep. It's evening here though, so maybe not sleep.
Over there. Well, I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I'll find that. I'll find out on WhatsApp in a few minutes.
I missed him. All right, later.
Bye, everyone.
Celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. Achieve success with Global.Media.